thanks everyone for joining and welcome to this webinar brought to you by Sequel in association with the Institute of Internal Comms, IoIC. I'm Nick Andrews, I'm Business Development Director at Sequel. I'm delighted to be joined by Jen Sproul, who is the Chief Executive at the IoIC. We're going to talk today about the essential skill or skills required for internal comms folk to add value in the years ahead. It's obviously a matter of opinion, so do feel free to agree or disagree in the chat as we go along. And if you want to add your own observations or questions as we talk, then please do. We'll have some time at the end of our chat to go through your observations. But to kick off then, Jen, for those of you who don't know you, can you introduce yourself and the role of the IoIC very briefly?
Yeah, of course. So I should say I'm Jen Sproul and I'm Chief Executive of the Institute of Internal Communication, which means obviously I'm responsible for running what we do, working with our board and delivering our strategy. And fundamentally, our work at the Institute is to help people find the skills and the development they need, but also advocate for the value and impact of internal communication.
Fantastic. So thanks, Jen, for joining us again. Right, let's now explore the subject of today's session, which is the skill set or the skill required for the communicators of tomorrow. So, Jen, I was at the IoIC festival recently, great festival, thanks very much. A theme emerged, actually, which has been reinforced from what I've seen on socials in recent weeks, around the way I see people can make a real difference in the years ahead. And broadly, Mr. Spoiler alert, it's about humanity, our ability to connect people, our authenticity, our strength as human beings. And you yourself, Jen, touched on this at the IoIC podcast at the festival. Can you expand on this kind of humanity as a vital skill?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we have to reflect. We've been through a lot has changed in the last 5 years, how we work, what work means, how we connect to our organizations, how we connect to each other, how we make sense. And I think it's clear the ongoing climate of, I think, that uncertainty, that continuous change, but also that sense of fear and connectedness and how we make sense of something, it continues to rise. And then you sort of get AI coming along, which sort of adds more fear or worry or concern or changes how we're connecting, but also how we work with each other now. It feels sometimes can feel more transactional than perhaps human relationship led. And if you look, and when we think about our future and where we're going, and actually as organizations, how we enable people to feel aligned, to have trust, to feel cared for, to feel connected so that they can deliver the organization's goals, the performance. People want people to be real in unreal times. They want that sense of, we know from the work particularly that we've done on the IoIC index this year, which really came out around the need for humanity and care and connectedness, because it's those things that humanly make us able to make sense, to make us be able to change behavior or get on board or see alignment, but also how we connect and make meaning with our colleagues and how we work as a collective organism in organizations. So I think it's really important as we go forward and how the way work is done and the advent of technology, that it has its value, absolutely. But fundamentally, as the beings that we are, humanity, and how we do that is what will help us feel connected to our colleagues, our organizations, but also help us feel that way of making sense and actually really deliver the outcomes our organizations want from us.
Okay, so humanity is the vital skill. Now, I think some people might say, well, humanity sounds a bit fluffy. It sounds a bit woke. It's not really a vital skill. It's really a soft skill, Jen. There must be more that we can offer as communicators than just being ourselves. I mean, shouldn't we be focusing on those sharp skills that add value and efficiency to business? Or is humanity, as you see it, a vital skill?
Absolutely, it's a vital skill. And I think that communication, or in general sense, has had this challenge over many years, and in many job descriptions as being billed as, how many job descriptions have you seen for multiple roles? I'm not talking about specifically communication roles, where it says must have good written and oral communication skills. And then you get into a position of leadership, and you get into a position of management, or you get into a position of where you are trying to work with colleagues or stakeholders or partners, And if we're not able to build connection with the people that we work with, we will work alongside, things will fail, things will not work. This is not about placing humanity as a sort of soft, fluffy skill. It's about saying if organizations in these times, they need to sustain trust, they need to enable strategic alignment, they need to really drive through values and identity and connectedness and how we make sense and bring people through this journey. That is not something that is soft or fluffy. I mean, you could, for example, not that I'm wishing to be political, say this is what governments fail on, because they haven't led, they haven't communicated, they haven't said, when I reflect back to you, I understand what this means to you, and I'm going to talk to you in a way that you trust, that you feel authentic, that you feel is honest. So how we communicate is how something can live or die, or think, or succeed or fail. And that's not led from a human standpoint, it's something that people aren't going to connect with.
Okay, so if we agree then humanity is a vital skill, I'm still not sure how it can make a difference in years ahead. I mean, I'm thinking as a finance director here, maybe
Yep.
being controversial. You know,
Yep.
I'm great. I've got humanity as a vital skill. He's going to say, so what difference does that make? How's it going to change the way we work as a business? How's it going to make us more efficient?
Yeah. So I'll try and come. I like it. I'll come back here with the devil's advocate. So do you think the finance department is what makes the organization efficient? That makes the organization create product, that enables the organization to innovate, that enables the organization to lead. It gives advice in a different capacity, but it needs to still work with stakeholders and work in the way that it delivers, perhaps.
Sure, but I mean, if you look at the bottom line, how can you convince people that your humanity, your soft skill set, if you like, or your connectiveness makes a difference? I mean, how can we measure that? Is that impossible?
It's not impossible, it's challenging. It's about how we act it. And when you're thinking about sort of communication, what we're able to do, what is effective internal communication? It's something where it's an environment where good collaboration, good innovation, good delivery of talk, good delivery of performance that happens. Fundamentally, for example, we know that organized employees don't understand strategy, don't understand their role, don't understand how they're supposed to deliver it. And I think also as well in these times, and what you're talking about is organizations are trying to work in really challenging environments, commercially, competitively, economically. They're also trying to work in challenging risk and reputational environments, transformation environments. I've always been something where, you know, this argument of ROI, yes, it's important, but we're also much about a risk management as we are about a return on that investment argument, about spend X, get X, Y back. But if you're going to try to move an organization at pace in an agile way, and it's going to be the people in the organization that are going to deliver those goals, then fundamentally we need to be looking at how and measuring how. Well, if strategy is understood, owned, how's relationships, how's information, how's intelligence being shared in the business? How are people knowing their roles, where they're trying to get to? How are they working with colleagues? It's those things that will see change programs fail because X didn't speak to Y, or didn't understand their role, or AI adoption wasn't clearly communicated. I'm not comfortable in using it. I don't understand how I'm supposed to change. How am I supposed to deliver that? And if you're sitting there as a finance person, you're thinking, well, the company is spending X and it needs to feel on budget or be in Y to be able to deliver that value in the pace that it wants. Those things that might inhibit that progress, as opposed to, but if it's done well, with good humanity and good environments for conductive behaviour built on good communication principles, it's got a far greater chance of succeeding in the way that it wants to go.
Okay, I mean, I think most of us on this call would probably agree with you. I certainly do. But do you think organisations are recognising this? Do you think they're listening to what you're saying here? And for example, are they more excited perhaps about AI or other harder inverted commas skills than this humanity we talk about? I mean, where are they on this journey?
I mean, I think it's a really good question, and I think I would be naive to say that every leader and every organisation is absolutely on this journey. I think there are going to be different situations in different organisations, and some leaders that just don't believe that that's the thing that is going to move or progress the business forward, and you know that is going to act as a significant barrier. But there is a change. We are seeing internal communication, for example, being much more seen as an advisory to leadership, to be much more about how it can enable the strategy to be delivered and to drive performance. I think there are organizations that are going to see AI efficiency and think, yeah, that's great, we'll get those hard technical skills, bring them in. But then what we know is, when you're talking about a mass behavioral human change that requires that kind of communication that enables it to happen. So yes, it might seem efficiencies in certain regards, but it will also see failures in other regards if it doesn't have a complete view to it. And I think the challenge is trying to say it's one thing or another, or it's human, or it's technical, or it's hard, or it's soft, or it's all of it. We're not trying to say it's one versus the other. We're trying to say that it's a collective that actually enables progress and enables performance. And if you focus anything collective on one too hard of one side, then the other side will drop and it doesn't deliver. I don't think it's one or the other. I think it's a combination. And I think that there are going to be leaders out there that still don't believe it's the thing to be doing. And that's going to be a real brick wall for some of us.
Sure. And I mean, you at the IoIC work with a whole range of organisations. Do you think many of them are still putting that too much emphasis on those technical skills? I mean, I don't see many job vacancies being advertised as humanity first. A lot of it's about, as you said earlier, you must have strong written skills, strong oral skills, whatever it is. So are we seeing a shift in that, or are people still looking for those technical skills first? And okay, humanities are nice to have.
Again, I think there's a mix out there.
Okay.
In the way that it's coming across. I hear certain organisations that are redesigning internal comms functions to be something that is about, for example, internal communication and community building and alignment and listening and knowledge management, change delivery, transformation delivery. It's positioned much more in that space of how can I be a function that enables that environment for success in a variety of ways. And I think that there are those functions doing that. But I think there's also a lot of work for us to do to explain to people what a good function looks like, what a good function of the future looks like. I think if we build our entire function based on the premise of the past of broadcast and channel management, we are never going to be seen as those strategic advisors. I think there's an interesting conversation to be had, to be thinking about what is a successful function. And I know that many IC teams are teams of one. So therefore the challenge is how can I be a data analyst, an AI technical person, a change manager, a head of listening, a knowledge manager, a trust officer, a leadership coach, a community builder, a place that someone that enables connectiveness in the organization. That's too much for one plate. Our challenge is to how we design that function so it plays into all those constituent parts.
But there is a great opportunity, I think you'd agree, for IC people to be those connectors. Actually, we're in a unique position where we can talk to pretty much everyone across the organisation, get their ear, talk to them, connect to them, whereas other people in other departments don't have that. So surely that humanity we bring and that connectivity is something that will set us apart in the years to come and actually help prove the value.
Absolutely. And I think it's that thing. So let me try and give a sort of vague hypothetical example of what I might mean, if you like.
Sure.
If you're in a boardroom or you're in a meeting and an organisation is discussing, I don't know, a huge change initiative or a huge communication initiative, but if you as the internal communicator have a connectedness, a listening program, a dial-in, a feedback loop, an evidence matrix that kind of go, if you do that, it will land in Y and the risk is X. It's that kind of thing where it's someone's next to you, kind of understanding how we position and communicate and enable that connectedness in the organization. And if we're the function that is super connected and then is helping other people being super connected, and we're building that bridge, you can be that voice in the room that stops something going so badly wrong. And I've heard many examples of that of recent times.
Okay. Some people in internal comms, not all of them obviously, are quite introverted, quite actually they hide their light under a bushel. They're not people who naturally come to the forefront, but they should be perhaps using their human skills and their kind of ability to get on with people more. Do you think?
Absolutely. And Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, look, we need to have influence. We need to have
Yeah.
relationships as a function. We need to work, and that's, we need to be working with our stakeholders and working within that. Don't need to be necessarily extroverted and loud to be someone that can build a really valuable relationship. That can
Okay.
come in many, many ways. You need to be somebody that's trusted. You need to be somebody that's informed, that's seen as having the knowledge that's going to help somebody in their role. So we do need to build those relationships, but also as well, we can build roles and functions within our functions that might fit different technical skills that will create that joined up dot.
Okay.
But we need relationships, and I think how we approach them can be done in many ways.
Okay. So the IoIC obviously great position to influence this.
Mm.
How will your organisation be kind of approaching this in the kind of months and years ahead? Will you be,
Mm.
for example, and it's difficult to teach humanity, I guess, but will there be training around it? What's your position as an organisation on this?
Mm. Yeah, I mean, as an organization, a lot of in terms of skills and development, obviously we have the profession map, and a lot of what I'm talking about sits within the profession map as well,
Hmm. Okay.
because it sits underneath there as sort of a way of doing something. And obviously, we're building more diagnostic tools to help members see pathways. We're building more online programs and more things that really help people to think about that, particularly I think in the area of confidence as well. We're doing much more work on that. The profession map, we will look to be able to put that through. It goes through a review periodically, and it will go through another review. But I think when we're talking about the training of humanity, it's about the things we already do through a human lens. So what does that mean? It's like, well, are you doing listening programs? Are you reaching out? What is your messaging? How are you enabling storytelling? How are you coaching a leader to talk authentically, honestly, empathetically? That's all humanity.
Hmm.
So it's spreading that through that, and not thinking that a transactional technical broadcast approach is going to serve every need for the organ. It has its place, but it's not going to serve the need for every part of that. So we're making sure that we're always developing our learning and our resources so that members can look at how do I enable that in the delivery of my work. I think then the other thing we're working on as well is we're trying to host more of a conversation around the future of internal communication.
Hmm.
We're working, for example, we've done a white paper recently on human connection through with Dr. Peter Mandino, who's studied it from a theoretical and practice point of view. So how can we think about our role in that? We have obviously done the index, which talks about the messaging and the tone of that, which gives a real clear steer and evidence of how that drives trust, advocacy, change and outcomes for the organisation. We're also then going to look at, perhaps we've done our professions research as well recently to look at what skills and pathways people are feeling in internal communication. What I think we want to do going forward as well is now host this kind of future fit conversation, which
Yeah.
is what we'll think about probably coming towards the autumn, which pulls all those constituent parts together, as well as continuing to make sure we provide the resources, the training that enables that to flourish. And then with that as well, partnerships. So how can we partner up with other business schools, other areas, so it starts to become something that's really embedded in the business school space is taking real look at the future of particularly ethical leadership.
Okay. Couple of final questions, and guys, if you've got any questions, observations, please feel free to add them in the chat. So we'll have some time in a minute to go through those. A couple of final questions, Jen. So the job market at the moment is pretty tough out there for internal comms people.
Yeah.
I know that from various conversations I've had recently. Would you advise someone who's looking for a job right now to kind of rejig their CV, if you like, to talk about their humanity, their personal skills, and what we've been talking about today, or is it still about getting through the door with your hard skills, inverted comma again?
I think I don't think it's one or the other. I think it's a combination. I think that what I'll be advising, and again, the job market, yeah, is really tough. But what I'd be really advising is, or demonstrating is understanding the understanding we have on the future of work, the challenges in organisations, and how our expertise in enabling human connection in environments for strategy and performance to be delivered and how we will bring in that sense of connectedness and the environment that the organization needs to achieve its goals, which, yes, are built on principles of humanity and good communication, is where I'll be thinking about it. I think that, whenever we're trying to sell ourselves, it's always to think about what value we're going to bring to others.
Yeah, the most difficult thing I think we have is to try and sell ourselves. We're very good at selling other people within the business, but not necessarily ourselves. But that's good advice. So let's kind of fast forward 2 or 3 years, then, Jen, say 2028. What do you think the communicator of 2028 looks like? Do you expect them to be valued more as human people, or where do you see that going?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the communicator of 2028, I think if it's just one in an organization, that's going to be really hard. I hope to see the communication function of 2028 is what I really hope to see.
Yeah.
Because skills, not one individual can be everything to all people all of the time. But what we can do is build an understanding of where an organization is failing or not progressing based on and how communication is inhibiting or accelerating or just keeping it quite flat. And they're able to understand in that the organization's challenges and how bringing human connection, communication based on those principles of the environment can do that. At the top of it, it will be about the value that they bring, the impact that they bring. It will be rooted in their ability to foster. I think trust is a massive thing that people really need. Trust is fundamental for organizational, and trust is a human experience. It's a humanity piece of work. So I think the communication function of 2028 will be technically and data savvy, but human focused. It'll be ethical storytellers and builders of trust. It will be influential and relationship driven. It will be protectors and enablers of values and purpose. It will be deliverers of change and transformation. And that will all be built on valued human experiences that can interpret complex dynamics, craft compelling narratives, enable leaders and enable organizations, environments and connectedness to each other to deliver the organization's goals and for people to work in an organization where they feel cared about. And I think that goes a long way in transforming an organization.
So that sounds like a pretty positive view of the future, Jen. That's great. We're not going to be taken over by robots completely, is what you're saying.
No, and I think so. As I look on LinkedIn all the time, and the sort of the narrative that's going on, but it already feels like the AI backlash of content is happening. We're already feeling it. So I think it has absolute value in our work in the future, but it's not the centre of our work of the future.
Sure. No, I heard something this week that LinkedIn was actually weeding out the AI bot posts, if you like, on LinkedIn, and they were looking for more authentic communication with people, again, showing their human side, and that actually goes to people showing their faces on LinkedIn posts and actually showing their human side. So perhaps there's already that backlash. We'll have to see where it goes. But are there any questions, guys, in the chat you want, or any observations from what Jen's been saying? I mean, it makes all perfect sense to me, but anything else anyone wanted to raise before we disappear for our lunch? No worries if not. Jen, thank you. I really appreciate your time today, and thank you everyone for tuning in. We'll be sharing some of the highlights and the summary of today's session on our socials in the weeks to come. But thanks again for tuning in, and thank you again, Jen, for your erudite performance as ever. Really appreciate that. And
I like the tough questions, Nick. I like it.
Okay. See you soon, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Cheers. Thank you.